Very good morning to you. I should imagine that being out of school and when they should go back to school has a massive impact on their mental health.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Certainly. I think especially if we're looking at the two age groups that are going back. I mean, in grade 7, if you think about it, school is a major aspect of children's lives and part of their integrity that they're trying to develop at this point. Being able to move further, being able to develop themselves. And I think even if you think about with the older children as well, all the anxiety coming about, if you think about matric, the future of your life, what's going to be happening, where do you want to go, how your plans have been slightly derailed at this point. And I think also probably just feeding into the general anxiety that parents and the rest of South Africa have at the moment with regards to, are we ready? Are schools going to be ready? Will the Department of Education be ready? So there's a lot of anxiety about the future and what it holds. And is this, I suppose, too soon or too abrupt a reaction?
Well, obviously we're not alone in that fear. I mean, we were supposed to have been told at 10 o'clock this morning what's going to be happening school-wise, and that's been postponed. We don't know until when. So that feeds into the insecurity, doesn't it?
I would think so, hugely. I mean, if you look at it, if you think about just the stage of development where, matric children generally would be, we're looking to role models. And who's a better role model rather than the Department of Education at the moment, or government telling us what's going to happen, telling us, are you going to be safe? Is everything going to be ready? And I think there's probably a very large feeling at the moment of being let down.
I've got quite young kids, and I mean, the whole coronavirus, it's a massive thing. They don't really know what it is. They know it's dangerous. So how should parents be dealing with this with kids, I mean, regardless of their age? The fear factor and making sure that they are still able to focus on their studies.
Sure. No, I think that's a very big question that's being asked at the moment. I think it does make a difference depending on the age. I think with younger ones, they don't necessarily have to understand exactly why. I think they have to understand what's important about the precautions. But also, I think as parents, what needs to happen is parents need to put some of the scaffolding in place for them to move forward, being aware, but also not being paralyzed by anxiety or just avoiding everything. I think with the older children, obviously, there's more development, so you're able to, I think, reason it out and not necessarily only have it as just purely a behavioral aspect.
And I suppose things are massive, aren't they? Like possibly missing your matric dance, not being able to socialize with kids in your age group, all of those things that help you develop.
Sure. No, definitely. I think school obviously has a huge academic component, but I think more about what we learn in schools, how to socialize, how to engage with peer groups. We often during that time, identity is a major element, and especially when we're moving from parental systems to more peer systems, where it's about peer validation more so than parental validation. So obviously that's going to have a huge aspect. I think, like you said, that disappointment is going to be massive, whether it's from sports, whether it's from other major role or times in terms of, like you said, matric dances, things you want to achieve, being a prefect, getting certain marks, trying to get bursaries. There's a lot of things that are being almost taken away from this group.
And your relationship with your teacher changes because it's removed.
Oh, most definitely. I think it's probably been the biggest learning curve for children, parents, and teachers with this remote learning that's been happening. I think it becomes a whole different ballgame as opposed to teaching in a classroom setting where you can have more direct contact. I suppose also the other thing that comes in, if we think about what they're saying at the moment, more children are going to be asymptomatic, and I think that could create a lot of anxiety for teachers, and maybe having teachers pulling away a little bit from the students as well.
Barry, any tips for people, students and teachers, to keep positive at home?
To keep positive, I think looking after yourself. I think there's lots on the internet at the moment about self-care, being aware of just where you are. But I think also just being aware that you're not alone in that, and that this is the reality for many people, not just for one person or just for you. And I think to very much try to bring in some level of structure to organize our days. Otherwise, I think we can all feel quite rudderless.
Thank you, Barry Viljoen.